I want people that have never traveled before, I want them to travel.
Okay.
Because I think that will open up our society so much.
Yeah. Don Kim, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Victor.
Good meeting you.
Dude, good meeting you too. We just what was it? Last week I had a 10-minute conversation with you, and I appreciate you giving me the time and featuring me.
Sometimes when things happen, things can happen fast.
Yeah.
Right. And from the initial impression on your page, I would describe you as a content creator, world traveler. I'm sure you have other adjectives to add to that. But I didn't think you were in Chicago. So it's just we can do this next week. Okay, I have an opening.
Next Tuesday, don't worry about the mannequins. And I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'll come in. That's actually how I found you, is I saw the mannequins and I was like, that's Vic, let's go.
This is it. So how's it going? How's 2024? I feel like you're the second guest for 2024, even though I have a list of episodes to release, in 2024. You're the second recording in 2024. But how has been? I feel like we're at the end of January already. But how has the beginning of 2024 gone for you so far?
I mean, I think 2024 for me is my year. Right. And I know people say that all the time. They're like, oh, this is going to be my year. And before they have the big kiss, they're like, oh, 2024, I'm going to make it, I'm going to do this, and this.
Sure.
Right? But I think it's really my year because in 2023 is really where I started this kind of travel influencer content creating thing. And it wasn't until I posted my first video and I found tremendous success on it somehow, I got really lucky, that I said, oh, wait, I can do this. I can do this for a living. I can do this every day. I could do this like as if I'm a real travel host, right? And going to countries, doing content, showing people food, adventures, the cultures. And then that's really where I went, 2024, I'm going to take a really big risk in my life. In 23, I had a job. I was a sales manager.
What month?
December. Right.
Of 2022? You said you had a job.
Oh, correct. So for the whole year of 2023, I had a job. Right.
Oh.
And so it wasn't until December I said, you know what? When am I going to have this opportunity again?
So December 2023 is when you went all in.
All in.
Okay. But you were testing the waters since January, you would say?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, 2020. Yeah. I would say I've been testing the water since probably in the fall, right?
And when we say testing the waters, would you describe that as your first big, maybe even solo trip?
So I would say it's really when I started posting content on a regular basis.
But prior to that, you've been an avid traveler?
I have.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that's actually kind of where it really started was I kind of had a midlife crisis a little bit.
Midlife,
right?
huh? Quarter life? How old are you?
You're right. Yeah, I had a quarter life crisis. And to be honest with you, I didn't like where I was.
Okay.
And I didn't like what I was doing. Right?
Okay. Yeah, you just mentioned corporate.
Yeah, I was a sales manager and, I was selling a payroll platform, which is awesome, right? Helping small businesses. That's great. But that's not what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't graduate high school and graduate college saying, I want to be a sales manager and I want to, sell payroll platforms and, be a millionaire that way. Of course, everyone wants to be a millionaire, but I wanted to do something different. And so I've had this constant idea of, hey, let's keep doing your job until you find that little thing. Right. And so for the whole year of 2023, I was looking for ideas. Oh, maybe that could be the next app. Oh, maybe that could be the next Uber. Oh, maybe I can make an Amazon. Oh, maybe I can make a Chewy, like a pet store thing. Right. I was thinking so much at things. And it wasn't until I actually had my first trip to Korea with my family that I said, hey, what do you love to do, Dong? And I said, I love to travel. I love to be in a situation where I'm like, why am I here? Right? I love to be in El Salvador being like, why am I drinking a beer in one of the most dangerous countries in Central America? Right? And so it wasn't until I went to Korea, I did a couple of my content stuff, had the tripod, did all that stuff. And I posted my first video about being too tall in South Korea because I'm 6'5". And when you're 6'5" in Korea, dude, you're going to hit your head 10 times a day. Right? And I posted that video. It ended up getting 50K views. And I was like, wow, I think I can do this. Right. And then I posted my next video about eating raw squid. And then that got 25,000 views. And I was like, is this beginner's luck or something?
Was this the very first video on the page?
Yeah.
So I feel like both Instagram and TikTok reward you for that, at least for the first 3.
They give you this it's like a drug dealer.
Delusional confidence of like, I can do this.
It's like a drug dealer. They're like, I'll give you a little taste, and if you like it, keep on coming back, right? And it wasn't until then when I was like, okay, I can actually do this.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until like somebody actually came to me, or actually not even somebody, it was actually a lot of people, like my girlfriend, my sister, my close friends, random people online were saying, Dong, you've got like this voice, like you've got this like funny, passionate voice that is perfect for like content creating, perfect to become an influencer. And to be honest with you, I had a little bit of imposter syndrome.
Sure.
Because it's like, dude, guys, I just started this 6 months ago. Like, I'm not who you think you are. Like, I'm just doing this for fun. And it wasn't until I started going viral and I started, getting success in Instagram and whatnot that I was like, maybe I do got it. I was like, maybe I do have something special. And so it realistically kind of started from that. And then now I'm traveling across the world. People are paying for my travels. I'm getting paid for meals. I'm getting paid for hotels. And ultimately, this didn't happen in the beginning. But it's really 2024 where I said, you know what? This is going to be my year. And so what better way to start a podcast, right, in 2024 right here? What better way to do go to Guatemala in a way
you're kind of manifesting too, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And so it's you bring up a great point of manifesting. Is I believe in that so much, right? When I first started this content creating, it was just like, I want to go viral. I want to go viral. I want to get those million views. But what people don't understand is that it takes a lot of work to do that. Your stuff's got to be good. Your stuff's got to be funny. It's got to like have meaning. And so I was chasing that for a while. Sure. And so I say manifesting because in my head I was always going, when's my next post going to go viral? Maybe if I post this, it's going to go viral. And it wasn't until like I heard this quote from somebody that said, "You're one blank away." You're probably like, Dong, you're crazy. Like, what does that mean? Like, you're one what? But when I say you're one blank away, it's you're one podcast away, one thought away, one post away, one country
Meaning
away.
Say yes to things?
Correct. Because that one thing could be that final destination to achieving your goals or to achieving your dreams.
Or like showing up, right?
Because ultimately, I think a lot of people think that their dreams are so far away. But in all actuality, dude, if you think in a way of, hey, if my next thought's going to be my big idea or my next post is going to go viral, that's where you manifest the success. And I think that's what I was able to do. Obviously, have good content and stuff like that. But that's how I ended up becoming viral, I think, really. Yeah. And it's just so funny because ultimately, I never believed I could do this 6 months ago. And now my confidence is at an all-time high, right?
Yeah, I wonder what were some metrics that objectively contributed to you going all in and leaving the day job? Like, were there some numbers to this?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I had a pretty good savings account, right, for my corporate job and whatnot. And so I told myself, I'm going to give myself a full year to do this, commit myself every single day. And after the year, if it succeeds, that's great. And if it doesn't, that's great too. Because guess what? Corporate's still there, right? Like a sales job is still there. And so I said at this point, what do I have to lose? Yeah. And that's the biggest thing that I tell people is travel, do this, do that, say yes to this, say yes to that, because what do you have to lose?
Yeah, you got nothing to lose.
Literally.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's just.
And honestly, what would happen if you lost that day job? If you couldn't go back to that day job? Either you have a lot of transferable skills, or would it be the worst case if you relied on family or friends to just lean on them for a little bit?
Exactly. And ultimately that's where I said, you know what? I have no like, there's nothing I should do this. There's nothing that is holding me back because ultimately I know that the jobs are always going to be there. I know that if I struggle, my friends and my family will hopefully be able to catch me or at least be able to give me a crutch so that I can do something. And so for me, it's like when you don't have that pressure, and you can just go out and make that content, speak to people, have that genuine conversation. It's like, it's a win-win. Like you're going to win. Like something great's going to happen from that. And so, like that's just kind of my story is like go for it.
Yeah. What would you attribute a lot of your mentality and perspective to at this point?
Oh my God. I would definitely say my father. Right. Okay. And as a first generation immigrant, so I wasn't born in America, right? I came to America when I was 4 years old. First generation. My dad's always been that entrepreneur because you have to realize our parents, and I don't know if this applies to you, but our parents are extremely hard workers, right? Like they come from that Asian discipline or whatever it may be. And so my dad has always been work hard and work for yourself, right? And so that principle has always gone through my head where that's where I was going through that, quarter life crisis where I was like, I'm not happy where I am.
Yeah.
I'm making 6 figures. I'm making really good money, but I'm not happy. Right. And so that's really where I said, you know what? And my father's still alive, which is great. Right. But I said, what would my dad want to do right now? And it's take that risk, take that jump.
Yeah. That's very open-minded of them to say. What was he in business with?
So he would just basically like buy commercial buildings and then just rent them out to corporate companies.
And he did that in Korea?
No, he did that in America.
What did he do in Korea?
So in Korea, I actually don't really know. So my dad's like 93.
Your dad 93?
My dad is,
bro.
Yeah, I know. Dad's like 93.
So 93. Are you counting down the days?
No,
because there aren't that many days that you have left with them.
Oh, of course. I think it's for me. It's more like savoring what I've had, and like being able to look back and say, my dad has provided me with XXXXS and like has done so much for me.
Yeah.
And so that's where it's that mentality of I'm not counting the days. I'm just really thankful and grateful that he's been here.
So whereas if you were, at their funeral service, would it be more of a celebration rather than a mourning and regret?
I think so. Only because when you live till you're 93, it's like, dude, good job.
If you were to assume and speak for him, do you feel like he's lived a fulfilled life?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say being an immigrant and coming to America and being able to do that like American dream, because he came here with nothing and then built something. And so I think for that, it's that fulfillment.
Yeah,
that he's definitely had.
I don't know how it was back then, but it's not easy to just buy up commercial property.
Yeah, I think he said that he was a cook and a chef in the kitchen for Michigan State. So he was like going to school and then he was, doing a side job and stuff like that, saving money and whatnot.
So he had education here. Okay. What did your mom do?
Funny that my mom was actually a model.
Wow.
Yeah, so she actually, I believe, was a finalist for Miss Korea.
Wow.
When she was in Korea.
Okay.
So probably asking, Dong, why are you 6'5"? My mom's like 6 foot, so she's super, super tall.
Wow.
Right? So my mom was a model. That's where I get my ugly looks from.
Oh, yeah.
But it's just kind of that story, I think. And it's really that support system that I've had from my family that has really allowed me to be successful.
Sure.
Because I think, especially with the Asian families, when your parents don't want you to do something or whatever, like you're always seeking that validation from them.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like, I have that. Like they want me to chase my dream. They want me to, hey, take this risk, see where it takes you. And if it doesn't take you anywhere,
that's interesting.
That's great.
I wonder what the ratio or the breakdown is for immigrant families that foster that kind of mindset versus fostering a more conservative mindset. And, the end goal is safety and security and success. But it's interesting. I think a lot of it depends on maybe their upbringing or what did they do for work here, and or maybe the people around them, their network, and you start meeting people that have quote unquote made it. It opens your eyes to what it means to make it. Whether that's spending more time with your family, your partner, your kids, or having financial success in your business, or striking a balance between the two. It's what you make of it, and I think it's very cool to hear you kind of take a leap of faith in yourself to pursue what could make you happy, and going along the lines of that imposter syndrome. It is interesting to hear you realize that happiness is not really a destination; it's something that you have to try to foster every day.
Absolutely.
So, that being said, like, what would the end goal or purpose be for pursuing this content creation journey?
I'm going to say it here, and I want receipt of this, but I want to be the next Anthony Bourdain.
Okay.
Like, I want to be the next Anthony Bourdain where I bring humor, sarcasm, sadness, emotion, passion into my art, into like what I show people. I probably watch an episode of him every single day. And when I say watch, I don't really watch. I study. Like, what's he saying to make it funny? Oh, like, why did they do this shot of this random person slurping noodles, right? Like, why? And so I want to be the next Anthony Bourdain.
Yeah.
Right? I want to travel around the world and show people that not only is traveling fun, but it's so fulfilling.
Yeah. What do you think helped him make it look easy?
What do you mean?
I mean, it seems effortless, the way he hosts his shows. And I think he has a knack for showing the humanity, as you're trying to do, in countries that you just hear stories about, right? And it's not until you step foot in these countries where you get a peek behind the curtain and, it's not what the headlines are all about.
Exactly.
Right.
I think that the reason why it's so easy for him is because he loves doing it. Right? People always ask me, like, how do you keep on making content? How do you keep on coming with these ideas? It's like, I love doing it.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not, I mean, it's a little hard for me, but it's like, it's not like the hardest. Like, it just comes to me. Like, I don't know how to explain it. It just comes to me. And I think for Bourdain, R.I.P., I think that's ultimately why he's so good at it, is because he loves doing it. He loves food. So when he eats, that's his passion. He loves to travel. So then when he goes to another country, that's his passion, right? And I think when you have a passion for something, one, it's a lot easier. Two, I think it's just like fun. Like, it's legitimately fun for them. You know what I mean?
So it sounds like you're of the perspective that someone can find their passion, or someone might be even born with a passion. Whereas, have you found yourself in moments of being passionate in areas that you might have not even foreseen before?
Yeah, I would say, like, now I'm really passionate about acting. It's really weird because
that's kind of a transferable skill.
It is, yeah. And because I'm, making content in front of a camera, all that stuff. But it wasn't until I started making this stuff and started doing content that I was like, kind of want to be an actor too.
Yeah.
Like, or voice. Yeah. And like, I kind of want to do this. And so these things that I find along the way, it's awesome. Right. If you would have asked me in high school or college, Dong, do you want to be an actor? I would have been like, dude, you're crazy. Like, no, I don't want to be an actor. Right. But it isn't until like I started this, I was like, I could be an actor.
And there is an entrepreneurial component to it, right? So if we were to go back to high school and college, were you setting yourself up to start a business, like cultivating skills like finance and accounting to eventually leap off that?
So I would say when I was in high school, I was more focused on sports. Okay. So I played Division I football at Indiana University.
Oh, wow.
So I was really prepped for that.
What role?
I was a kicker. I was a specialist.
Nice. Yeah. Wow.
So I was there for about 2 years, got hurt, and then ended up quitting. And when I quit football, Division I football, by the way, is like, it's a job. Like, it is literally like a full-time job. Wow. And when you stop Division I football or any sort of athletics in college, it's like, dude, you've got so much time on your hands. Like, what do I do? Get a girlfriend? Do I go party more? Do I join a frat? Right.
If anything, you probably cultivated discipline.
Absolutely.
That time, right?
Absolutely. And so with all that free time, I actually in college started my own clothing company
with
one of my friends, back in the dorms. At first,
what was the ethos or theme of that clothing company?
For hoodies, just streetwear, just anything cool, like whatever it might be.
Did you eventually do cut and sew, or did you?
Oh yeah, the whole silk screen, cut and sew. Really? The whole like all that.
Is it still going on?
It is in San Diego. So my friend is still running it in San Diego. I went the corporate side.
Wow.
And so we had to obviously kind of split at some point, but in college it taught me so much.
Yeah.
Right? Because
what a cool side project.
People are learning, how to negotiate business, and I'm literally doing that in the fashion districts of LA, right?
Yeah.
And it taught me so much about business and entrepreneurship. I was actually going to try to be a doctor in college.
Oh, okay.
But it wasn't until I started my business that I went, I love business.
This is more fun.
Being an entrepreneur is so much more fun. And so that's where I shifted gears. And so with the question you asked, it really started my entrepreneurial spirit in college. And then it kind of grew into, my post life and whatnot.
What part of the merch business really resonated with you? Because that's how this podcast started, is creating merch.
I would say, so could you repeat?
Yeah. What facet of the merchandise or clothing, process, whether that's the creative process, the silk screening process, the actual manufacturing process, sourcing, partnerships, finding clients, lead generation, website, all that. Like, is there any specific facet to that process that aligned with you more, that you wanted to go deeper into?
I think two things. One would be partnerships, right? Because when you start a clothing company, you have to find partners, whether it's the people that you get your stuff from, whether it's people that market for you, right? Partnerships is the name of the game. Whether you're in clothing, whether you're in business, sales, it does not matter. That is what you should do always in life, is partner with somebody.
Were there some brands you had your eye on?
I did. Adidas, Nike. Obviously they gave us a little bit of a spiel and we're like, oh, maybe you guys can do this. And then they ended up, just going cold. But, developing those partnerships. And it's not even with the big brands. It's like, hey, maybe those mom and pop shops that are, selling the blank t-shirts for $1. Can you get them for $1? Maybe you can get them for 75 cents, right? Save some on your margin. So I would say partnerships is really, really huge in the clothing industry. And then finally, my biggest thing that I love is branding, right? And I think that's one of the reasons why I've been sort of successful on my content is I'm branding myself.
Yeah.
Right. And clothing brand is the biggest thing, right? I would always tell people, don't chase the money, chase the brand. Because once you build the brand, the money will come, right? And a lot of people don't do that. And so I think those two things, honestly, I'd just say branding in itself really resonates.
How do you cultivate a culture or a brand, especially for a small group? In my head, it's probably through forms of media as well as bringing affiliates on board, brand sponsors, right? What were some things that, like, vessels that you guys leveraged in order to share your ethos and brand? So
I don't know if you know this, but Mark Cuban went to Indiana University, right? The Dallas Mavericks CEO or owner, Shark Tank guy. What he did was actually really funny. It's what we did is when he was in college, he would go from sorority to sorority, fraternity to fraternity, and he'd sell dance lessons. No, I literally was like, wait, are we talking about the right Mark Cuban here? Like, that guy looks like he's got no rhythm, right? I'd never take a dance class from Mark, right? But that's what he did. And I went to my business partner, Josh, and I said, Josh, let's go to fraternity to fraternity, sorority to sorority, and sell our clothes.
Did you make clothes for them?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
like letters?
We made custom stuff for them, but we also sold our stuff. And that's when Venmo first started coming real.
So, wow, just opportunity.
Gosh, like we would be leaving those fraternities with $1,000 in our digital
and
digital wallet.
That's good money.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so it was just like everything started aligning, right?
Now, reputation's hard to build and it's harder to rebuild. And that's something that's not immediately grasped until maybe some setbacks. But did you try to hold yourself to a pretty high standard with kind of execution and delivering on your promise?
I think I could have done a little bit better.
Sure.
Because I was in college. We were inexperienced. Didn't really know what we were doing.
Where do you store all this stuff? Your apartment?
No, it's just like that's literally what we were doing. Dude, my living room, and you can ask my college buddies, and they've been so great during college, is that in our living room, we would have boxes up to the wall with just hoodies and stuff like that. And so I would say the execution, if I wish I could do it again, because there's so many things I would have done better.
You're going to have a platform where you're going to start, if you haven't already, start selling merch.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. And that's a great thing is that like these experiences that I've had, because I said yes to starting a clothing company, because I said yes to failing, or because I said yes to this, it's now set me up for my present life, right? Where when I start creating merchandise, and don't worry, Vic, I'll get you something. Don't worry about that. When I do start creating like merchandise, it's like, I know what to do. Like, I know what the type of brand that I want to push. I know the type of marketing that I'm going to do.
At this point, would you do print on demand, or would you continue to kind of make it yourself?
I think I would probably make it myself and like have like a certain type of brand or a certain type of quote. A lot of my followers I have this famous quote on my restaurant reviews is eat until you vomit or eat until you throw up. Like, when you go to a place where you're like, dude, I'm literally going to throw up because I've eaten so much food, right? Like that's my quote, right? And so like to be able to brand that or something is something that I'm looking for. But it's just like, it's crazy because these like, when you're doing these things right now, you don't know that they're actually building your future, or it's like it's helping your future.
I mean, in a way, you're doing it because you enjoy doing it.
Absolutely.
Right. And I think it's good to have that balance of that foresight of like, what could this turn into versus like not getting too far ahead of yourself and putting all your eggs in one basket in the sense of like that happiness only at that destination. You're going to grind until you get that happiness because it's not guaranteed either.
Yeah.
Are you aware, I don't know these guys personally, but of Corey and someone else, but their show is called Number 6 with Cheese.
Oh, wait. I think
I love their show.
Wait, are they Chicago based?
Yeah.
And they go to
they just eat in their cars, they made a sauce, right? They made a sauce with their brand.
I do know them actually. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. That's fun. I don't know them personally, but I've definitely seen their stuff.
I love their show.
But like even looking at that, it's like, so for me, I study now. I don't look, I study. So it's like,
as you should.
Look at their name, Number 6 with Cheese. That's a great brand. That's a great name, right? Like that's amazing, right?
Yeah.
So it just kind of like everything that you learn, everything that I've learned at least, all just kind of comes back.
Yeah.
And just like comes back 360 to be like, hey, like remember the lesson that you learned in college? Here it is now.
You know,
right?
For the most part, content creation is evergreen, right? You put a YouTube video up and it kind of like lives there.
Forever.
And right? And
scary.
And meaning if you did the best you could at that time, chances are you probably won't have to redo it.
Yeah.
Right. And depending on what you're talking about and showcasing, and even if you had to, redo it, that means that what you showcase is growing and it's changing. But I have a few channels for YouTube, and like one of them, you usually end up making like $100 per 1,000 like subscribers per month, and it's a nice chunk of change. I mean,
I'll take it. Yeah. I'll take it. That's
the other vlogger I that recently came to Chicago is Mark Wyans.
Okay.
Or Mark Wiens. His channel is called Migrationology, but he does all the street food internationally. But he's got such a huge following that when he comes anywhere, when I'm talking about here specifically, they give him a behind the scenes look. They allow him to assemble the food and cook some of it.
Yeah.
Because he's gonna put them on a pedestal, and he's gonna do right by them, right?
Absolutely.
Is there? Oh, sorry, I cut you off. You were gonna say something.
No, you're good.
I guess like in a way you're not pigeonholing yourself into just food, right? Are you familiar with Sam Kolder?
I am.
There's another guy with the last name Kim, Sky Kim.
There's a lot of us.
There are a lot of Kims. But Sky and I met through emergency medicine, and he's currently a firefighter for Chicago. But he kind of went viral through his drone footage of the city. So you may or may not be already following.
Yeah. He's on the Chicago Instagram, like all that. Yeah, yeah. I definitely.
Yeah,
I still follow him. Yeah.
So
he's a firefighter.
Yeah, that's his day job.
That's badass.
Yeah, that's the day job. But with Sky, he and I were both in this Kolder Creative Academy, and Sam and his group was teaching content creators how to make a living, how to strike brand deals, and eventually, negotiate with, let's say, travel agencies and get more than just your flight and stay booked, but like get paid for the content that you create.
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
Is there a facet of content creation or like an industry that you're most interested in, as far as brand deals or partnerships or just collaborations too?
I think realistically with partnerships and collaborations, it's not there's not like a specific category that I want. It's just, do I believe in their product?
Yeah.
Right. Like say, for example, if Adidas has a partnership with me, do I like Adidas? Do I wear Adidas? Like if Nike has it, do I like Nike? Do I like
how much would they pay you to have to start wearing Adidas?
Exactly. Well, that too. That's a huge question in the finance. But say for example, I don't think I could say the name right now because of contract stuff. But like I'm about to be a spokesperson for one of the best pizzas in Chicago.
Okay.
Right. There's only two, right? I'm sure you could kind of 50-50 guess, but
we're blessed with plenty of pizza though in Chicago.
True, but like one of the largest in Chicago, right?
Yeah.
And the reason why I want to do it is because I love their pizza.
Okay.
Like I love their stuff. Like, and so I think I have to genuinely like their stuff or genuinely believe in their product or their food or whatever to actually want to partner with them. Because I've had a couple people reach out to me. Hey, would you, if I paid you $1,000, could you make a reel about figs? I was like, Fig Newtons? Like,
are you a healthcare provider?
I was like, those still exist? I was like, what are you talking? He's, oh yeah, these figs that are going to be in Super Bowl. Like, could you like do a reel for them? I'm like,
oh, the food.
Like like a fig, like an actual dried fig.
Figs are scrubs for healthcare, for healthcare providers.
No, I was talking about actual fruit.
They're like fitted scrubs.
Yeah, I was talking about,
and there are like models and sponsors like for that company too.
I was talking about literal like dried fruit.
I haven't heard of Fig Newtons in a while.
I haven't heard that name, and I haven't said that word in like
interesting. That's coming out of left field, which isn't the worst thing, but if you don't eat them.
But it's like I can't work with you because it's like I don't believe in the product. I don't really eat figs on a daily basis. When did you have that
realization of not being a right fit? Because it's alluring to when you're initially, and I know you had that finance background, but when you're initially starting as a content creator, getting a few $100s for your content, you'll probably get tons of spam like that. Be like, I'll pay you $50 or $100 to do this. It's just like, not worth my time. But then, when you start seeing the thousands, it feels real, right?
Yeah.
But then you have to question, like, is it even a good fit?
And that's the biggest thing is that ultimately, if you say no right now, later on it's going to help you. Because say for example, I post that video of a fig, right?
Yeah.
And I don't believe in it, and the stuff that I put out isn't funny. It just sounds robotic. It just doesn't sound genuine. My viewers can see that.
Yeah,
right. And it ultimately will result in a negative aspect or a negative impact later on in my life or later on in my content. And so I really try to make sure that everything that I post is genuine. And people always say, oh, you give great ratings to all the restaurants you go to. Well, it's because all the restaurants I go to are really good, right? Like if it's a restaurant where I say, you know what, the food wasn't that great, I'll go to the owner and say, you know what, I don't think you want me to make your content for you, right? Like I just don't think you want that because it's going to negatively impact me. It's going to negatively impact your brand. I just don't think you want that, right?
So would you go try their food before even like striking a deal then?
So no. I look at their Yelp reviews like crazy. I will stalk their Yelp reviews.
Yeah, but I mean, what if it's just like wrong place, wrong time, and like
that's true.
And
I've not come across that. So that is something that I obviously do have to think about.
Have you gotten to the point where you implemented contracts then?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's like before 2024, it was just kind of me winging it.
Yeah.
Oh, you'll pay me $100 cash?
Absolutely.
Great. Like send me that. Oh, you'll Venmo me $100? Okay, cool. But now it's gotten to the point where, I have over...
And you should be tracking these things.
Exactly. And I have over, 500,000 views on my profile, every month.
Right.
So it's like, that's a mini ad for a company.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's like now you got to get into the weeds of, hey, we're getting contracts and deadlines and you have to post it during this time, that time. You can't have this in, you can't have that in. Don't swear. Don't bring in our rivals. Don't do this. And so it's gotten really real. And it's actually gotten to the point where I'm now looking for representation. I'm looking for those big brands that are going to represent me because I know for a fact they'll do a better job than I do. They'll create contracts that are higher. Manager. Exactly.
Yeah.
Or a talent manager or whatever. Or they'll get me in front of brands that will be like, hey, I want that guy. I want that next Anthony Bourdain.
Right.
So that's like that kind of like levels to this stuff. It's like it was very amateur in 2023. And that's where I said 2024 is my year because I'm going to make this legit. I'm going to have contracts. I'm going to have a like full-on business account. I'm going to have this like as if I am which I am, that I'm a content creator that's in
I would
demand.
even put money into hiring just like a D-Rock for Gary Vee, hiring a videographer, just so you don't always have to rely on a tripod and you can have candid conversations with someone, just be mic'd up, and then someone's capturing that.
And that's something that I've been looking at actually, is that I'm looking for those students in the University of Chicago or UIC or DePaul that kind of want to do what I do and gain that experience first, right? And so I've actually been in the talks with a couple people that I might go to a couple countries with and they might follow me.
Nice.
I'll pay for their hotel, all that stuff, and they'll just follow me with a camera and whatnot. But I've been really lucky in the sense that my friends and my family have helped me tremendously with filming, right? All my filming, my girlfriend does. Like literally all the restaurant films, like my girlfriend just
like
there.
Walking behind you.
No, literally walking behind me, and she's just trying to get free food at the end and stuff. And so she's an angel. Like she's helped
she's here
me.
for the ride.
No, literally, but she's helped me so much. And say for example, like all these countries that I go to, I don't think I've had a solo trip actually. Every single trip that I've gone to, I've had to ask my friend, hey dude, $200 to El Salvador. You want to go? Hey, dude, like $225 to Guatemala. Like, you want to go, Charlie? Like, hotels paid for. Like, it's all good. Just pay for the Spirit flight. Well, we're there, right?
Yeah.
And so that's really like kind of, I've been very amateur with it. And so that's where I'm saying in 2024, like, it's going to be my year. Like, I want this year to be like official, like a legit, you know what I mean? Like, I hate to say those two, legit, right? But like, that's where I want to just take that step.
There are levels to it.
Exactly. Like, I want to take that next step. And you said yourself, you know, once you get to that level, you can buy a camera. Once you get to that level, or like once you feel comfortable, it's like, okay, spend the 3K, 4K on that camera. And I think I've gotten there. So it's like, it's just, it's crazy. Just
And
this whole thing.
I would say in addition to just quality, I think consistency is just as, if not more important. So people can have an expectation of like, Dong's going to drop a video every Tuesday, Thursday, or whatever, you know? Going back to, you know, finding that right fit, I think that's what makes Tim Ferriss, and maybe even recently like Andrew Huberman, like when they have sponsorships, like they choose to do their own ad reads. They have a 3-episode minimum. And they ask themselves, like, if I share this, are my friends going to give me so much shit for, you know, sharing something so silly, something that they would never use? And I think when you're super selective about who you work with, people, you know, in the long run will trust you about what you are sharing. Even if you are getting paid to share, it's something that you would personally use and that you stand by.
Yeah, and I think that's like, people nowadays, and I'm sure you can kind of tell that people on Instagram and TikTok, they're a lot smarter than they used to be. And the reason why I say that is that people don't like as much. People view it, but they won't like it, right? It's because people want to have that, like, they sense that genuineness, right? Like, if they know it's not genuine, they're not going to engage with your post.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think viewers have become a lot smarter because they're looking for that that genuineness of the content.
It's tough. I'm sure there's many reasons. People call it doom scrolling. Right? there are many, like, it's just like a short attention span. There's just an abundance of content these days. And I think we're just addicted. I know I am.
And it's funny because, like I said, I study, like, I don't look at this. I study this stuff now, right? When I'm on the subway in Chicago, I'll look at people's phones and like, look at what they're like, look at how many likes they'll do. Look at how many scrolls they'll do. Because ultimately that person sitting right in front of me is the average of everyone else. That's what everyone else is doing. Right. And so that's where I started to realize you got to be genuine with your stuff, because the second they smell a little fish or a little like it's fake, they're like, no, I'm out. Oh no, I'm scrolling. Right. Next. Right. So I think that's really important with sponsorships and like partnerships is, dude, you gotta be genuine. And like, even if a good chunk of money comes your way and it's not a good fit, dude, don't do it, because you will end up holding the grenade at the end of the day, because you have to realize the brand's already got the content out. They're happy, right? Yeah. Whether they get a like or whether it doesn't matter. It's out there. Right. So I think that's like a huge advice is, dude, you like, be genuine.
Yeah. With contracts, how do you remove that pressure of deliverables? Because it's hard to deliver certain numbers, you know, and you can just rely on the averages of your previous content. But what do you share with the future brands that are prospective brands that you're working with in order to, you know, pull them in and just like, but it's hard to guarantee, right? So like, what do you say to them?
So a couple things. One is, when I first started this, I had no idea what a media kit was. Like, all these brands were like, send me your media kit. And I was like, is that like a bandage kit? Like a Rite Aid? Like, I can get a Band-Aid, like, if you want. Like, what type of kit do you want? Right? Like, and they're like, oh, send me your media kit. And it wasn't until I realized what it was is basically just kind of your whole like portfolio of what you've done, who you are, what you like, how many followers you have, what your average is.
Do you have a website these days?
I don't have a website. I gotta get a website.
It's easier than ever to start a website.
I know. I gotta get one. Because I know I'm gonna sell merch and stuff on there someday too. So, but you got to send them a media kit, and it's got to look nice. It's got to say, oh, I get this. I have these many followers. This is my average. My engagement rate is at 20% with my followers, blah, blah, blah. And that's what they look at. Right. So, and then secondly, what they do is, hey, give me your Instagram, give me all your handles. We're going to put it into this machine, and we're going to actually find out how much engagement you get per month. right? So there are like third party like platforms that you can literally study, or they could tell you how many like views you get per month, how many views you get per like video and stuff like that. And so that's really where like things get official. But realistically, it's just you give them your media kit, you give them a quick spiel of your idea and just say, hey, like I want to do this with this reel. Hey, I think this will be really funny. I think this will go viral.
Yeah.
And then it's just kind of up to them and being like, hey, let's give this next Anthony Bourdain kid a shot.
At this point, would you rather work with a group that gives you the free reins, or would you rather work with someone that has some constraints? Because constraint sometimes brings out creativity too. What's your kind of perspective at the moment?
So one of the biggest things for me is I have a set schedule, right? And I try not to break that schedule, right? In the sense of I know when I'm going to post it, or I know what I'm going to post when, right?
You have a set schedule with posting.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so the whole deadline thing for me, I'm actually not a huge fan of because it usually contradicts my schedule, right? So say, for example, right now I'm in Copenhagen, right? And I'm posting Copenhagen stuff. I'm posting my first reel yesterday was from Copenhagen, right? And I'm going to post 2 more from Copenhagen. And then I'm going to come back to America, do more of my sponsorship deals, partnership deals, and then do my Berlin posts, right? So I have a set schedule for that. And so when these brands give me these deadlines, I'm not a huge fan of. I actually like when they give me constraints because, again, creativity, it creates creativity. But then also, it makes you think a little bit harder. It makes you be like, oh, they don't want this. Oh, I wanted that. But okay, well, if I can't do that, like how else can I do it?
Yeah.
Right. And so when they give me these constraints, it's like not only more fun, but it's also easier for me because I know exactly what they want.
Sure.
When a company comes to me and goes, get this viral, I just go, oh shit. Like, I don't know what I'm going to like.
That's a lot of pressure.
Exactly. I have no idea what I'm going to do.
And what, like, do you think some content creators would go to the extent of paying for engagement to guarantee that virality?
I mean, you could see so many Instagrams these days that have 80,000 followers,
Like
and you look at their reels, and they're getting 800 views, and I'm like, something's not adding up there, right?
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think that hurts you, right? And like I said to you before, it's about that brand that you bring, right? It's like it's kind of ruining your brand, or it's kind of like spoiling your brand, because ultimately, when you pay for followers and you pay for views and you pay for whatever, you're only hurting yourself, right? And so I think that's the biggest thing. And some kids and a lot of people are like, oh, I want to skip this step of the grind and I just want to get to that 10K, because a lot of brands won't even look at you if you don't have a minimum of 10,000 followers.
Right. There's some credibility.
Yeah. And so people are like, oh, I want to get 10,000. I'll just pay $1,000. I'll get 10,000 bots and then I'll be good, right?
Yeah.
Well, those 10,000 bots are not going to get you views. So now you have to pay for every single video that you're going to have to do. So it's not plausible, right? And so I realistically think if you want to be a content creator, you want to be an influencer, you got to go through the grind. You got to go through oh, wait, that video got 500 views. Shit. Like, what am I going to, like, what did I do wrong there?
Do you just
right?
delete it then?
Yeah, do I delete it? Do I like hide it? Do I pretend this never happened? Like, do I throw my phone against the wall? Maybe that will help. Like, you got to go through the grind. And for me, it's weird. Like, I'm kind of like a unicorn, I would say, because my first video got 50,000 views. And I was like, holy shit, like, what the heck did that come from, right? So it's a little bit weird for me, but if I were to talk to somebody and a beginner and I'd give them advice and they say, hey, should I buy followers? Should I buy views? I'd say absolutely not. Like, stay as far away from that as possible.
Who were some people that gave you advice when you went viral?
My girlfriend, actually. I will credit my first viral video. I would honestly credit my whole success right now, actually, to my girlfriend. The reason why I say that is that my first viral video that got 6 million views and half a million likes, 250,000 shares, right? That almost didn't happen, right? The reason why it didn't happen was I went to Cancun and I went to this water park, right? It was $150 to go to that water park. And I was like, Tracy, nah. I was like, we've got an all-inclusive resort. Like, why are we going there, right? But she's like, hey, this is going to go viral. Like, trust me on this. Like, not a lot of people like know about this place. Not a lot of people know about like what this is all about and how much you have to pay and all the activities. Like, I'll pay for you. And she literally paid, like, she fronted me $150 and she was like, I will pay for your side. Just come with me. Trust me. And I was like, oh God, damn it. just like walk, like dragging my feet. By the way, that place is freaking awesome. Amazing. Like I would live there if I could. But then I made the video and it went viral. It went viral to the point where I was going like, holy crap. Like that's a lot. Like every time I'd scroll, it would be 100,000 like viewers and stuff. And I'd be like, oh
where
my
it becomes
God.
numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. And so
how do you engage with that volume? How do you like
you don't
cultivate a community with that type of volume?
You don't. Because there was a point where I was like, because when you're really small and you have a couple, maybe 8,000, 9,000 followers, you can talk to everyone.
Yeah.
Like you can, like if they chat you can chat them and be like, oh yeah, hey, what's up? Like, great, thanks for viewing my stuff. But you get to a point now where it's like, dude, there's like 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 comments. If you try to reply to everyone, Instagram will block you because they think that you're a robot or something. So it's like now, that's one of my huge things for 2024 is engage more with my people. View their stories, like their stuff more, talk to them more. If they comment, try your absolute hardest to reply back, right? So that facet has really changed for me. But then another thing that's changed is all of my first viral video, very positive. Everyone loved it. Everyone was like, oh, this is so much fun. I'm going to do this on spring break, blah, blah, blah. Very friendly. My second video that went viral, I walked through the most dangerous neighborhood in South America, which is in Bogota, Colombia. Got a lot of hate from that. Not going to lie. Got a lot of hate from that.
In what sense? What were you sharing?
So I was just walking through just kind of the worst neighborhood. And it ultimately, there's, prostitutes, hookers, there's, people doing drugs, there's people with guns out in the street and stuff like that. And I was just showcasing them. Sure. Because what Anthony Bourdain would do is there are beautiful sides to a country, but then there's also really ugly sides to a country as well.
So where was the negative feedback coming from?
Just saying, hey, you shouldn't be doing this. Hey, you shouldn't be there. You shouldn't be, advertising this stuff. You shouldn't, you're a fake, you're a fraud, you're an imposter.
Was the purpose to attract people there?
For me, it was just to show people. Yeah. Because a lot of people have this idea of Colombia as like a really, really terrible, dangerous, violent place. But in all actuality, Bogota's beautiful. Colombia is beautiful. But there are certain parts of Colombia that aren't so nice. Okay. And that's what I wanted to showcase. Yeah. Right? Because all of my other reels on Colombia are just splendid things about the country. Like, go here, do this.
It's like willful ignorance, right?
A little bit. And but I think it's so important to show people that. Because ultimately, you go to a country and you see all the beauties of it, and you got to see the ugly side of it. You have to. Because that makes you just more of a well-rounded person. It's more of a person that's grounded a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, not everything's fairyland where it's sunshine, everything's great. There are some dark sides to some countries. There are some dark histories to some places, right? And that's something that I really want to show. Say, for example, Guatemala. I'm going there next in 2 weeks. There's a strip there called La Línea. It's the most dangerous street in Guatemala. I'll be there. I'm going to walk through that, right? But I think it's so important to show that. And of course, it's going to gain attention or gain views or whatever, but I ultimately want people to see it because I think it's so important. Like, it's so important to get both sides.
Like, have you heard that it's not that bad?
Oh, I heard it's bad.
You heard it's bad?
Oh, I heard it's real bad.
What makes you continue to want to, or like, how much of it do you know before going in?
So Bogota, the tolerance zone, I just knew of the tolerance zone. I just knew that there was a zone that the police low-key don't care about and that it's kind of a free-for-all. You can go do whatever you want, literally. So I didn't know much about it. When I walked through it, learned a lot. When I came out, I read about it, and I started to realize, wow, dong, that was really dangerous. Like, I don't know why you did that, right? And I'm not pointing my camera and flashing it. I actually have my camera on my waistband, and I'm walking, so it's a little bit discreet. But that's really where I started to kind of fall in love with doing stuff like that. Because like I said to you before, what kind of fulfills me is being uncomfortable. Like, I really don't like those resorts on a beach. I want to be in the slums. Like, I want to be on the streets. Like, I want to feel the grit. I want to feel the bustle and hustle of the city. And so that's the adrenaline that I chase, kind of. And might bite me in the ass someday. We'll see.
I like that as far as like being discreet in the sense of like, always trying to, and we mentioned this on the pre-call, but like, always trying to capture a moment to eventually share, to some extent, might remove you from being present.
Mm-hmm.
And so what are some other ways that you've tried recording while trying to be present? Or even being discreet, because, just people just feel differently when they see a camera.
I think when you become a content creator, a photographer, a videographer, whatever it may be, I think the word present is very difficult, right? And the reason why I say that is because you're always filming. Mm-hmm. You're never in the present, right? And so realistically, I think throughout my whole time when I film, I'm never actually really there. And it isn't until I actually look at my content after that I go back to that scene.
What if it was a 360 camera?
Ooh. What are those?
So you get to decide the angle in post, but it captures a 360 angle around you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Send me that link. Send me that link right now. But I don't know. The word present.
Have you felt like you haven't been present? And it's okay if you have. I'm just curious.
I think the only time I haven't been present is when I'm just hungover on the plane and I'm just like, dude, get me out of here. Like, I just want to like leave. But every time I've been to a foreign country, I have been present to a certain degree, but not really, because it's always through a lens.
I guess that's where hiring a videographer might help.
Exactly. And so I think that ultimately, like I just had like every time I see like I'm at a place, I'm never really present. I'm just videoing it. And that actually kind of brings me to another point of, I love what I do. I love traveling. I love creating content.
Like your talent is in being the talent, right?
Yeah.
Rather than, you might enjoy recording and maybe some editing, but where should you put more of your eggs, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And so that's where, again, that videographer, I'm like, 2024, I need to get one in Chicago based, wherever it may be. I need to find one, right? Or if I go to a foreign country, I need to go find somebody that, like, $100 a day, just follow me around.
Maybe in a way they could be your translator.
That'd be even better, right? And so I think that's one thing that I really, like that whole present word is really weird to me now, ever since traveling and creating content, is because ultimately I'm never present. And people always say, oh, Donald, you have a great job. You travel, you do this, you do that. But it gets to a certain point where, like, I can't enjoy travel anymore. And the reason why I say that is that every time I travel, I have to either have my film or my camera ready to go. And every time I don't have my camera, it's like, oh, I should have gotten that. Oh, that's a really cool, like they're doing some band in the middle of the square in Bolivia. Like I should capture that, right?
To do something for the sake of doing it, though,
exactly.
Right?
Well, to capture the moment, though.
Like, yes, but to genuinely do something because you genuinely wanted to do it. If I want to have a beer on the plane, I want to have a beer on the plane. Yeah. Do I have to record it? No.
Yeah.
Am I going to feel like it, missing out? Maybe. But what should what should the purpose be? It's like, it's, I think in the beginning, it's definitely striking that balance, because if you remove yourself from it, you're going to wonder why you started in the first place. And it's going to feel more like a job rather than getting to live the dream. Yeah. Right.
I'll tell you what, I think right now I'm at a point where it's a job now. And I love it. Like, it's a fun job. I love it. But there's a tremendous amount of stress sometimes that comes with it. And it's difficult, but it's really, it's hard, but I love it.
Where does the stress come from?
I think just the stress of validation, the stress of imposter syndrome, the stress of, what are my finances? Can I make this trip? Like, because I have a budget for each month and whatnot. I can't go over, I can't go under, because again, I gave myself a full year, right? So I know my budget. So many of those things. Hey, if I get hurt, what's going to happen, right? Like, if this happens, what's going to happen? If I get shot in La Lina in Guatemala, what's going to happen, right? So, like, all these stresses end up coming, and then ultimately those deadlines you were talking about. Oh, I've got a deadline for this one brand for next week. I got to make that video now, or I got to start doing that. And it's just like, it sort of builds up. And I actually started to understand why content creators take breaks. And I understand why content creators are like, oh, I need to get away from this for a little bit and just like go live my life, because there's a lot of pressure. Yeah. There's a lot of stress, and ultimately content creators as many friends as they think that they have because they've got so many followers. Dude, the most people, like if you've got a high following group, there's a good chance you've got no friends, right? And it's like this weird, like little like nuance where the higher the follower count, the less friends that they probably have in real life. And it's like that stuff like cuts you up, right? It like,
there was a scene in the show Entourage where it's like he comes home and none of his entourage is home.
Yeah.
Everyone's kind of living their own life.
Yeah.
And he's in this giant mansion.
Yeah.
It's like 2 a.m. It's like, is anyone home? No one's home.
And what's even like crazy is just the pressure sometimes of you go out. Hey, what do you do for a living?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a travel influencer. Like, right? Oh, I'm a vice president of sales. Oh, great. Okay, I'll just go screw myself.
Like it hasn't felt right yet.
Yeah, and it's a little bit embarrassing a little bit, right? It's like you're a little bit ashamed of it.
So then why are you chasing it?
Because I know I can be successful at it. Because I know at the end of the day that you're going to see me on TV someday.
Mm-hmm.
I know at the end of the day.
Well, how would you think Anthony Bourdain describes himself in an introduction?
I think about that quite a bit, actually, because ultimately at some point he was just a chef. Mm-hmm. He was just a drug addicted chef, right? So I think about that a lot of how did he introduce himself? Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm a world traveler. Oh, I'm a cuisine expert, right? I haven't found that yet for myself. I always see myself saying, oh, hey, I'm a content creator. Nice to meet you. Oh, hey, I'm a travel influencer. Nice to meet you. Oh, hey, I'm just an influencer. Nice to meet you, right? Just to find my like perfect, like, I guess.
Elevator pitch.
Yeah, or like my title, I guess. And that's been really difficult because ultimately humans, they compare each other to each other, right?
It's natural.
Yeah, like, oh, hey, you're a vice president. Oh, cool. Like, I'm a travel influencer. Like, oh, shit, you're flying first class. I'm flying economy, right? Like, so it's that comparison that I constantly do that I think is really toxic, that brings a lot of stress for me.
Well, comparison, I think, is important to see where you stand amongst your peers. Mm-hmm. And envy is where it becomes toxic.
Yeah. And I think that's, I'll be honest, I envy a lot sometimes.
Well, it helps you identify what you want.
Yeah.
And I'm not shaming materialism. It's, there are things that I would like to have in life. Sure. It's when you do them for the sake of status,
yeah,
rather than enjoying that said thing.
And I think I need to really kind of look myself in the mirror and kind of say, like I need to validate. Like, dude, you don't need any more validation, mm-hmm. right? Like, you are who you are. You know your talents. You know how good you are in front of a camera. You know how good you are with like your voice and your passion, all that great stuff, your humor. Like, stop trying to prove to somebody else that. Because I think a lot of people are constantly trying to prove themselves to somebody or to, like, their friends. And I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people don't do content creation is they're always scared, right? Dude, I was shaking when I first posted. Like, I was literally like shaking, being like, oh my God, what's that really hot girl in high school gonna think? Like, if she sees this and like she doesn't like it, right? Like, oh my God.
Are they even watching?
Exactly. Like, oh my God, what's my like friends from high school gonna think? Like, are they gonna just talk shit to me and stuff? Like, oh my God. Well, they do. But it's that like fear and that just like just that like constant like having to validate or prove yourself. It's like, dude, you've got nothing to prove.
Have you thought about like who you're trying to be validated by, or like whose validation would mean more?
My parents, obviously. I think being Asian, I think your parents' validation is number one.
Yeah.
I think that's top of the knot line for every Asian out there almost. Like, it's like you want your parents to see your success or they want to validate it.
And through what lens?
Exactly.
Through the lens of financial success?
Or like being happy, family, whatever it might be. I got my mom's validation, I would say, when she came to, or when our family came to Chicago, is when my first viral video actually started to get viral. Right. And like I said to you before, I'd flip it, 1,000 views came on. I'd flip it again, 1,000 views, and it just kept on growing. And it wasn't until my mom actually saw that she was like, shit, my kid might have something. And like, oh shit, my kid might be able to do this, right? Because I remember we stayed up all the way till 2 a.m. literally scrolling nonstop, going, oh my God, it's at 2 million views. Holy crap, it's still going. Like, oh my God. Wake up the next day, look at my phone, scroll. Oh my God, it's at 3 million views.
I don't know
how
many Korean viewers you have, but Koreans go hard for each other.
Dude, they do. But the thing is that I think that was one of the greatest times of my life, or not, I don't want to say my life, but during my content creation, is that finally someone's actually, like my mom and dad are seeing what I can do. And they're seeing
it's interesting
firsthand.
for them to see value in social media.
Exactly. And now I go home, my mom's like, oh, how's your YouTube doing? Oh, how's your Instagram doing?
Isn't it cool that they ask?
It's awesome. And my mom and dad are like straight off the boat. Like they are just Asian. Like my mom literally learned how to use an iPhone like last year.
Yeah.
So they don't know technology at all.
But they're so open-minded.
But they're pretty open. I think it kind of comes down to because I'm the youngest kid.
What do your siblings do? Or is it one sister or multiple sisters?
I've got an older brother, sister, and then me.
What do they do?
So my brother's not a commercial real estate agent.
Wow.
My sister just had her kid, so she's a stay-at-home mom.
Okay.
And so I think they have given me a tremendous amount of slack to do what I want.
Because you're the youngest?
I think so. I think because they're like, you know what, they just give me extra room to do things.
Nice.
And so it wasn't until my family came and they saw that I kind of felt validated at that point.
Do they live in the city or the suburbs?
So my parents live in Michigan. So they came to visit.
Oh, so you don't get to see them too often. Wow.
Yeah, so I see them probably every 2 to 3 weeks. So I'll drive
wait,
back.
that's actually kind of often.
Yeah, it's probably once a month. Yeah, I try to do once a month because the drive also sucks.
Good.
But that's really when I was like, I remember this so much. I remember I fell asleep that day and I just remember saying to whoever was up there, God, it doesn't matter who, I just said, thank you. Mm-hmm. Like, I just remember being so happy because I was like I was so scared to do this. Mm-hmm. And like, to get that validation from my parents and to like actually see the success happen in front of my eyes, it was just like, I'm like crying right now because I was so happy when that happened. Like literally I was.
Well, up until that point, when was the last time you were validated by them?
I would say like every day. Like, I mean, like to a certain degree, because, I had a job, I had a really good job. I had a really good, like I bought my first apartment, right? Like I was doing really well in life and like everything was good. I had no debt. I had, everything was great.
What did they say when you first shared that you weren't happy with your sales job?
I don't think I ever did.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You just been working on the side hustle. And
I don't think I even told my girlfriend that. I think it was just something that I fought every single day.
Did she knew about the side hustle?
Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
She knew because I told her, I said, you know what? Hey, I'm going to Korea today, or I'm going to Korea. I'm going to start this right now because I think this is the most perfect time. I'm going to start it right now. But I really didn't tell anyone. I didn't even tell my friends, or honestly. It was just something that I had to that I knew deep down what I wanted, and it wasn't that.
Yeah.
It's like, I just knew, you know what I mean? And so it's just, I feel a lot of people are kind of going through that right now.
Sure.
And especially a lot of people that are my age, I'm 28, right? That are kind of going into their 30s going like, holy crap, like time's flown. And now it's like, if next thing you know, I'm going to have my retirement party, I'm going to be 55 and be like, okay, I'm out of here, right? But that's what scared me the most, is that I know for a fact I'll blink and tomorrow I'll be fucking 50. Mm-hmm. I know that because time flies, my man. It flies.
So far, the decades get better.
I mean, true, but that's what scared me the most.
Yeah.
And it's that idea of when I do get older, am I going to look back and say, oh my God, I had a great, passionate voice. I was a great actor. Like I should have tried to do something with that. Like that's what I'm the most scared of. And so
yeah, it's limitless for you. I can see you even like starting a travel agency, just giving recommendations, like go here, go there. And I think one of my favorite aspects of meeting people and podcasting is sharing kind of untold stories. And I'm sure you feel that way, especially when you go to countries that aren't highly talked about or talked about in a different light. And you just share different perspectives. So being a facilitator to put people onto experiences, onto meeting different people has been very fulfilling for me, at least.
I mean, for me, I just love showing people. Like I love being that host. And if I could be the host of, Travel Network or whatever it may be, like that's my goal, because ultimately I want to show people that you should travel. There are so many people in the United States that has never left the country.
Yeah.
That to me is crazy. right?
Or left their hometown, right?
Exactly. And that's okay in the sense of, yeah, maybe you can't afford it or maybe you can't do, that's fine. But I think realistically, when you travel, you're just more compassionate. You're more empathetic. You understand the other side compared to just it's always been this way. Let's keep it this way. Let's be conservative about it. Like, let's never change, right? Mm-hmm. I think it's a huge experience, and I think just a really great trait to have is the idea of being open. And I think being open by traveling, I would say, is how you become that open. Because once you start traveling, you start realizing, holy crap, I'm not the only town in Alabama that does this. Oh my God, I'm in El Salvador. I'm in Guatemala. Like, there's a life here. Like, these guys live their lives every day. And so I think that's one of the things that I really want, like I strive for, is I want people that have never traveled before, I want them to travel.
Okay.
Because I think that will open up our society so much.
Yeah.
I think I don't know what the stat is, but it's crazy. It's like over 25%, I would want to say, that they've never left the country. Mm-hmm. Don't even have a passport. And it's like, man, oh man, like if we can just get them to another country and have them experience something else to understand what the world around them is like. Mm-hmm. And when they come back, they become a more empathetic person. They're more curious. They want to learn. They want to see things. They want to try new foods. Like, that's really like my goal. It's like making people to get uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Because I'm uncomfortable.
It's
all
tough
the time.
because if someone's not complaining, right, they're already happy. Then they don't have that feeling of lost or unfulfilled potential. Mm-hmm. It's when you have that feeling of like, am I leaving anything on the table? Mm-hmm. And same on the other end of the spectrum, it's like you can't force someone who's closed-minded to all of a sudden become open-minded and curious, right? Mm-hmm. So, I think we can all agree that travel does just like do that. Mm-hmm. But hopefully, these videos and the content plants a seed. But that could be a high expectation for you. It's a lot of pressure. And I think the long game is to just continue doing this as long as you can.
Yeah.
Right?
And another thing that I really enjoy is just the people that can travel that just are too lazy to, right? Like those people, oh my God, anger me so much.
It gets tougher if you're planting roots, right? So whether it's like getting
married or something,
and we probably know plenty of married people, even with families, kids, babies that are well traveled. Mm-hmm. But it does make it a little more difficult.
Yeah, and ultimately, I'm really directing that towards just kind of the people that they can do it but choose not to, right? Like I ask when I plan a trip, I have a full list of people that I text, right? And like every single one of them that I text, I know they can do it. Like I know they can swing it.
That would go
that
with
would
you.
go with me. Yeah. Like I know they can go, but ultimately it's just that, you know what? No, I just want to chill here. Like I don't want to like experience that. Like it's fine, or I can't afford it. Yeah. And I'm like, didn't you just pay $150 tab at like Tao last night? Like, right. Where did that come from? Or didn't you just bet $200 on the money line for the Steelers to win or some bullshit?
You're going to be met with excuses left and right.
And it's crazy.
And I have friends that just choose to travel alone because none of their friends are willing to.
Yeah.
Right?
And I'm getting to that point now where actually Guatemala, I was supposed to travel alone and I found my next victim. I mean, my volunteer, Charlie, thank you. And thank God that he said yes, but it's getting to a point where now I'm like, okay, my next trip could be alone. I could be alone in Central America, South America, wherever it may be, the Caribbeans. And I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
But I'm also like a little scared too, because I've actually never done that before.
Is there a subcategory of interest that you try to take with you on all your travels, whether it's through the vessel of food, through the vessel of wine? I'm trying to get into wine. So like imagine if you got your like SOM certificates and like you just kind of like tried wines wherever you went, right? Or maybe sports. The people that come to mind are Ryan Reynolds and the other guy that bought a soccer team, a football team.
Oh, it's
right?
the guy from Sunny. Yeah, Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah, it's just like through that vessel, maybe through the van life vessel. Like there's so many subcultures within this whole realm of travel influencer, right?
I think for me,
which becomes part of your brand.
Yeah, I think for me, and I've actually started some projects right now with some big people. I think is that leave the place better than I came. Right, and the reason why I say that is it's a sense of gratitude that you have to have, not only when you go there, but in life. Right, like look at what we're doing right now. We're doing a podcast in downtown Chicago.
Yeah,
a roof. We got heat, we got clothes, we got drinks. We got a J.C. Penney refrigerator from the 1990s. I haven't seen that since Vietnam. But like, it's the sense of gratitude. Because when you go to these places, you will see the poorest of the poor. You will see people that just got drawn a bad card in life sometimes. Like when I was born, I didn't draw a card, right? I didn't say, oh, I want to be born in this family and I'm going to do this.
You're given a card.
I guess, exactly. But you're given a card, right?
Yeah.
That you had no choice over. And so it's a sense of gratitude that I like to do. And this year specifically, I'm going to be doing more donations, funds, like food drives when I go to these places, because ultimately I've realized I come to these places with such a blessed life, such just everything, right? And these people have nothing. And they're grinding every single day.
You know, they're happy, right?
To a certain degree, I think.
Like you don't. Sometimes you just don't know what else is out there.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the people that, the mothers that have to take care of 5 kids, and they live in a shack and they don't even have electricity. They don't even know what internet is, right? Like that's crazy to me that we live in a world still that has that. And so one of the things that I want to do more this year in 2024 is partner with charities, partner with nonprofits, partner with celebrities. And so I'll give you a little insight here. I'm actually going to travel with a celebrity to Central America, and we're going to do a massive, massive fundraiser there, right? To get attention, to get like funds out there to them. And so that's the biggest thing that my next vessel that I want to do when I travel is I want to help people to where I go, right? I don't want to just create film.
I saw a fascinating documentary or an episode of the reporter that just kind of followed the migrant's journey, whether it's from China, India, South America, Central America, and their journey, and how commercial it can be, in the sense of like, people from China can buy different level packages that dictates how comfortable their journey
Ecuador,
could be
to
come through and cross the border and make a new life here. And it's like, it's wild.
And that's not even like, you're not even at 100% success rate there. That's like taking the chance of that.
Yeah.
And that's crazy.
Yeah.
You look like every time I travel, I have a sense of gratitude, an immense sense of gratitude.
Because you have an ability to come back. Right?
I have an ability to come back.
These people can't leave.
But even it's just like, man, my life that I didn't choose, that was given to me, like I'm so privileged and like grateful for it, right? And when I go to these places, it really, you have this sense of like, oh my God, like boy, do I have it good. Like, oh my God, the sale didn't go through last night. Oh, it's not the end of the world. Some girl didn't show up on her date. Oh, it's the end of the world, right?
Yeah.
Dude, you have no idea, man.
I think David Dobrik did a good job with that.
I saw that one.
There was generosity, and Mr. Beast does a really good job with that. There's different vessels to do it, right? And when you start doing these things, I think I listened to Naval Ravikant, who said like, ideally you want to be rich and anonymous.
Yeah.
And going to certain places in the city, like private lounges and stuff like that. It's like these people love their anonymity, and it's something that it's hard to get back once you become famous.
Yeah, I think that's another thing that kind of I started to realize is that I'm not just a private person anymore.
Yeah.
Right. Like you are out there. You are speaking. You're doing stuff. You're the face of a brand. You're the face of a partnership.
Tim Ferriss shared how like after the 4 Hour Work Week dropped, like he didn't buy his first home under a different name, and people just showed up at his house.
Yeah. It's crazy because I don't even know how to explain it. It's just like now you're.
It's like it might not be exactly what you want. You think you want it. You think you want the fame.
It's a little different.
But I think you want the freedom. I think people want the freedom to dictate what they do when they do it.
Exactly.
But I think most people haven't taken the time to explore what they want to do.
Yeah, and for me, I had to have a deep, deep conversation with myself, right? Of, dude, you're 28 years old. What do you want to do for the rest of your life?
Yeah.
Like literally, because I remember yesterday I graduated college, and I remember yesterday going, oh, I'll do this for just a little bit, I'll save some money, and then I'll go venture, create an app, I'll create a business, I'll do this. Well, now I'm 28. Those 6 years flew by. Like, oh my God. And guess what? The next 6 years is going to fly by. It's like, dude, if you don't catch it now, when are you ever going to catch it? Mm-hmm. Right. And so that's like the biggest thing I think about that risk is it's that quarter life crisis, dude. Mm-hmm. Like I had to have a really deep, deep conversation with myself of what do you want? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? Where do you see yourself in 20 years? And that's ultimately where I said, okay, I love to travel. I love to be the face of something. I love to be a host, a content. Like I'd love to be able to do that. And I said, all right, if that's what you want, let's go. And so that's where I really developed that idea of, okay, I'm going to do this. Right. When I went to Korea with my parents and whatnot, I told my girlfriend, hey, when I come back, like I'm going to be a little bit of a different person. Right. Like I'm going to be not the Dong that you know. I'm going to be Dong K-12. Right. I'm going to be this personality. I'm going to be this influencer, or I'm going to be this creator that, like, that's what I'm going to do. And, you know, she's an angel. She's great. She's like, oh my God, do it. She's like, oh my God, I know you can't do it. She's like, great, do it. But it's that, like, what do you want? Right. And even for myself, like, I was fighting that constantly through my like corporate job, right? That corporate job of me showing up every day and not believing in the product or even believing in the company itself, just showing up because I have to pay bills, right? Showing up because I have a mortgage to pay and stuff like that.
Could there have been another sales job that felt more fulfilling?
Maybe.
What would you have liked selling?
Myself.
Yeah.
In a non-sexual way, but but myself, that's where I really, like, that's one of the questions is like, I actually had to ask myself, hey, if I was selling for Facebook, but I still had this feeling, hey, if I'm selling for some big tech company or some like new startup unicorn that you're going to get stock options for, maybe like, would you still feel the same way? And I ultimately said, yeah, because I want to sell myself, right? Like I want to like show you that I'm that personality. I have that passion. I've got that voice. I've got that humor to, you know, host travel sites, host like whatever. So that's one of the biggest things. And I think anyone that's listening today is, dude, if you don't like where you are right now in your life, just take a pause for a second and just ask yourself, what do you really want? And what do you really love doing? Right? And of course, some people can say, oh, what if they don't know? That's fine. But what do you love to do? Mm-hmm. Do you love to eat? Great. How can we turn that into something? Do you love to sleep? How can we turn that into something? Do you love to play Call of Duty till 2 a.m.? How can you make that into something? Right? So I think people can ask themselves what they like to do and then ultimately find like what they want to be in the future. Does that make sense a little bit?
Yeah, all contingent on there's some level of discomfort or unhappiness with their current stage in life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was like, oh man, dude, I was just running through the motions, dude. Like I would wake up, do my sales call with my team, and I'd be like, at the end of it, I'd be like, I hate this. Like I'd literally be like, I hate this. Like this is like, I hate this. Like I can't be a corporate person for the rest of my life. I'll literally like I just can't do it.
Sure.
Like I literally I can't do it. And I think that's also how I was raised is always be your own boss. Always do what you want to do. Like, right, from my father, because that's ultimately, he never had a corporate job, right? I never grew up with a family where my dad left at 8 a.m. and came back at 5 p.m. I'm waiting by the door. Oh, Daddy, welcome. That never happened. My dad literally did what he wanted, when he wanted, how he wanted to. And so when I saw that, I guess growing up, I guess that's like the only thing. And it's really crazy because
I'm trying to think. He was probably older already when you were in your
teens.
teens.
Yeah, like 60s.
I mean, was there any part of you that wishes he spent more time with you then? Because there's that balance, right? Unless you don't have any complaints.
I don't have any complaints.
If I were to guess, his absence also leads us to seek more validation, right? So like, what if he was more around?
Yeah, the thing is that he was around a lot. So I don't really have anything like that, but for me, it's just like what he taught me is like, you're here to go, like to be a bigger, like to do bigger things.
Taught you, meaning spoke to you or by example?
I would say both, right? Because, I don't know, obviously you don't know, but my family, we own a couple buildings and whatnot, right? Which is great. We're the people doing the maintenance, right? Asian people don't hire like another, third party person to do the concrete. Guess what? I'm doing the concrete. Roofing, I've done a lot of roofs in my job. Trust me, I have. Cementing, oh God, I could cement the whole parking lot if you want, honestly. Just give me the right tools, I could do it, right? So he showed me, right? He showed me like, hey, don't waste your money and spend $8,000 on this cement person. Do it yourself. Like, just do it yourself. Save the money. You're the leader of your own body. Like, do it yourself. Like, I don't think I've ever seen my father, like, asking for another person to come in unless it was absolutely needed, right? Like there are certain things that you have to, right? Like, don't get me wrong, but if he could, he would try to do it himself always first. And so I think seeing that really like resonated with me as a kid, being like, you should be your own boss. You are in charge of your own life. What you want to do, you should go do it. And if you can somehow monetize it to make it a living, that's the end goal. So just being like, because it's funny because my girlfriend, right? She does not want to be an entrepreneur. Like, she has zero interest.
Are you okay with that?
And that's fine, right? And I ask her sometimes like how she grew up. Like, what did your dad do? Oh, my dad was a VP of sales for 15 years. Well, there you go. Right? Like, you never had somebody that said, oh, I want you to be an entrepreneur, blah, blah, blah.
But she'd be on these trips with you, and would you ever like, hey, so this is what it could be. Imagine what if we were both influencers.
Oh, God. No, I don't, because I also think there's a certain, like, you have to have a certain persona to be a content creator or to be an influencer or a host. You know what I mean? Like, you have to have some sort of...
Well, you have to be on, right?
Yeah, but then, like, when you can just see somebody and you're going like, oh, like, that guy would be terrible at sales, but he'd be a great analyst, right? I think it's kind of the same thing with content creating and whatnot. Influencers is that you can't put an analyst at a sales job and you can't put a salesperson on an analyst job, right?
Yeah.
And it's ultimately, you have to fit that persona. And I think it's something that my girlfriend is just like, I'll just go corporate. Like, I'm comfortable with that. Like, that's what I've known my whole life. Like, that's how I've grown up and whatnot. So I think it's kind of how like you grow up.
Yeah. I want to wrap up soon, but like going along the lines of Anthony Bourdain, most people didn't know that he was struggling with depression, right? And suicidal ideation. So, like, is there any part of you that would do anything differently to content creation and hosting, a show and a travel show? As far as like highlighting maybe even the behind the scenes, or maybe at times it's like, it's okay that it feels like a job. It's like, it's not all rainbows and sunshines. Like, is there value in that?
I think there is, because I think a lot of people look at content creators, look at influencers, hosts, travel people, whatever, and go, oh my God, your life is amazing. Like, oh my God, you get to travel for your life.
I'm sure you've seen The Last Dance.
Oh yeah, I have.
The Last Dance with MJ, right?
Yeah.
Just like how insightful it was to hear their struggles.
And like, you look at that team and you're like, oh my God, they won so many championships. Like, they must have been great. But then like, you look at the behind the scenes of how much drama, how much stress, how much pressure they have and whatnot. And so for me, I want to create that a little bit more real, where I want to have more real content where people are seeing the struggles. People are seeing me delayed a flight 8 hours and I'm just sitting in an airport for fucking 8 hours, for 8 hours and just going like, oh my God, I'm about to like just like die, right? Like I think those type of struggles, like, you have to see. And so for my content, in the future, like, I want to be more genuine and real. Like, I want to show them the real side of it, right? Not the glamour side, which I will show the glamour side, but I want to show the real side. And so that's where I also have that idea of go see the ugly in every country, because that's the real, like, that's the nitty gritty stuff, right? So I think one of the things that, hopefully Bourdain could have done a little bit better was show that grueling, tiring, just sad side of traveling. Because ultimately people just look at your job and they see all the great things to it, but they never see the like the disadvantages, right? The lack of sleep, constantly just jet lag, constantly. So I get traveler's diarrhea everywhere I go. So it's like just constantly just showering in the fucking toilet, basically. Just constantly. And I remember I got food poisoning in Prague, which was about 3 weeks ago. And I was just going like, I have to go out and shoot stuff, even though I don't want to. Like, I am literally shivering.
Oh, wow.
I'm like having a fever, but I'm like, I gotta go do it. Right. And like showing that, like, just that real side of it is really what travel is. Travel's not glamorous. I used to always think, airport lounges and first class and stuff like that. Dude, it is not like that.
Yeah, I remember seeing some of the YouTubers like just make videos of like their time in the Emirates, business class and taking a shower in a plane.
But the thing is, in all actuality, they're probably jet lagged 7 hours. They're probably hungry as hell. They're probably sad, tired, like everything. Like they just don't even know it. Like it's crazy.
Yeah. Is there anything we haven't talked about, Don?
No, I mean, if anything, if anyone were to get some sort of value from this podcast or from myself or my content, is just go do it. Right? Like, don't be scared of the high schoolers or the college kids or the people that you work with that are gonna, what are they gonna say? Oh my God, are they gonna make fun? Who cares?
Yeah.
Go do it. Because ultimately you're going to realize that when you do it, none of those people even cared in the first place. And a lot of those people will end up supporting you.
Yeah, that too.
It's crazy. Yeah. And so if there's anything, don't be scared to take that first step into creating content, taking that first step into creating a business, taking that first step into asking your boss for a raise, taking that first step into doing something. Because honestly, if you stay constant, you're going to blink and you're going to be 55. And you're going to be like, man, I wish I would have taken that one step. And it's going to be too damn late.
Yeah, 100%. Where can people find you, Dong?
I'm on Instagram, DongK12, on YouTube, TikTok, all of that great stuff. Reach out to me. If you guys have any sort of questions on content, how to do this, travel, reach out to me. Right. One of my biggest goals for this year is to make sure I engage with the people that love my stuff. And so if you have questions, reach out. Right. And ultimately take that first step, because even reaching out is taking that first step.
Nice. Tony, it was a pleasure.
Oh, Victor, thank you. I really appreciate it. The first podcast, I was sweating my balls off in the beginning. I was just drenching. I was going, oh, God, I hope this guy doesn't think I'm weird or some shit. Like, oh, God. And then I cooled off a little bit. And this is just, like I said before, just a genuine conversation.
Yeah, that's the goal. All right, everyone. Till next time, stay curious.